everyone, Sarah here. Welcome to episode 9 of Bringing Back Botany. I can't believe we made it this far in the series. And so to celebrate, I thought I would find a theme for the plants of this week. And the theme I chose were toxic plants. And I'm not talking the toxic like when you get out of a bad relationship way too late and you're not sure of who you are anymore, or the way that you feel after your credit card statement comes in and you've been on a couple bad shopping sprees. I'm talking about the kind of toxic that if you touch or ingest them, it may cause contact dermatitis or intestinal distress, or maybe death. A lot more easier to palate. So with that, let's go find some plants. I've got my gloves, and I'd recommend washing your hands after contact with any of these plants and in between times. Alright everyone, we've got our first plant in our toxic plant series in front of us, and this one's a bad bama jamba, so I've got gloves on to touch it. And so what we're looking at is Clematis crispa, or curly clements, or blue jasmine. It's a perennial vine in the Ranunculaceae family, and it typically blooms between April and September in this part of the world. And so, vegetatively, the leaves are opposite on the stem with 5 to 9 leaflets per branch, with the margins being either entire, tooth, or lobe. And so there's a great variety in the leaf characteristics. The flowers of curly clements occur solitary at the terminal ends of the branches. And there's a uniqueness to this flower in that there's only one type of petal parts, and that is the sepals. You got that right, there's no petals whatsoever. What you're seeing are sepals. And there's only 4 sepals that can be 25 to 50 millimeters long that are typically this blue lavender color at the base and rose to white at the tips and the inside. A unique trait about the sepals of this plant is that they curve outwards at the terminal end of the sepal, and there's a plethora of raised stamen and pistils interiorly. So curly clements is poisonous to both humans and animals, and so be cautious when touching the foliage or touching the juices of the plant itself, as it can cause skin or mouth inflammation and internal inflammation if ingested. And so just be wary and use some gloves. So we've got our next grass species in front of us, and this is a fairly recognizable inflorescence. And so we're looking at sorghum halepense, otherwise known as Johnsongrass. And so this is a very tall perennial grass species and can get up to 2 meters tall. And the inflorescence is denoted by that pyramidal shape that you see on the side of the highways while you're zooming by. The grass is popularly used as livestock forage or roadside disturbance, settlement, or cover due to the fact that it spreads by rhizomes and it can establish very, very quickly and prolifically. So Johnsongrass is vegetatively distinctive. It's got leaves occurring along the entire stem, so basal and cauline. It's got super wide leaves, anywhere from 8 to 20 millimeters wide, and it has that distinctive white midvein on every leaf. Likewise, its ligule is a ciliate membrane, and the basal leaves are pubescent in some of the individuals. The inflorescence of Johnsongrass is the very distinct open panicle that's pyramidal in shape. It can be anywhere from 15 to 40 centimeters long. And within the inflorescence, the spikelets are going to occur in pairs, where one spikelet is sessile and perfect, and the other spikelet is pedicellate and sterile. Now at the tips of the branches, the spikelets can occur in groups of 3. The glooms of the spikelets are going to be endurate or hard, and the upper lemma of the sessile spikelet can sometimes be yawned with a delicate geniculate on, but those fall off very quickly and early in maturation, and so it's quite typical to not see any awns on the species. Now, lucky for us, Johnsongrass isn't outright toxic or poisonous to the touch, either that it wouldn't be used as a forage species or a cover species. However, when it does grow under stress, plant enzymes within the plant itself can hydrolyze and create cyanide, which upon consumption by grazing animals can lead to cyanide poisoning. Alright everyone, coming at you with a new plant species. And the plant we're looking at is known as Carolina horsenettle, or Solanum carolinense. It's in the Solanaceae family, so it's the nightshade family. And it's a perennial species that gets up to about 40 inches tall, but it averages between 1 and 2 feet. And it is very coarse along the stem, and it has the distinguishing prickles along the stems, these little yellow, sometimes green thorns along all the foliage along the plants. The leaves of Carolina horse nettle can be up to 12 centimeters long, and they typically are alternate along the stem and have those coarse yellow or green prickles along the underside of the vein on the leaf itself. Likewise, the margins of the leaf are going to have these lobes, and also the leaves are typically stalked off of the main stem with a pedicel. Now, the flower of Carolina horse nettle can be up to 1.25 inches in diameter, and it's going to have these typical 5 petals in a star-shaped pattern. The petal color is typically going to be white in this species, and as with most nightshades, they have the distinctive yellow stamen protruding above the surface of the petals. And as you can see here, they typically occur at the terminal ends of the plant itself in multiple clusters. So Carolina horse nettle is a very pretty flowering species. However, the foliage and the fruits especially are highly toxic and can cause mortality upon consumption. So it's best just to leave this species be. But also it's hard to eradicate it from a field once it's established, making it a noxious and invasive species.